Hello, it's good to see you. Today we're doing something a little bit different. I realized that during the live stream that I did, there were a lot of questions that I didn't even see, much less get a chance to answer. Um, I couldn't keep up. It's like there were so many that even as it was almost an hour and a half, and apparently I only answered some of the questions. Here are some more, and you can see each line represents a question. Oh, that's not all. There's a whole other page of questions, and then about a third of a third page. So I know it's a lot, but I thought maybe we could try to go through here and I'll try to answer these questions. Some of them have a quick answer, some of them don't. They're not in any particular order except they're in order, the order in which I received them, the order in which I saw them in the feed. I actually did this today. I went back and got all this. So I'm just going to jump in and we're just going to answer some questions. If you're looking for classic ASMR, you're probably not going to get it here, so sorry. But I wanted to answer these because I feel bad that I didn't answer them. And I have my marker. I'm just going to mark these off as we go. All right. Are you a naturally happy person? I think everybody has a certain level of happiness that they kind of stay at, and some people are up here, some people are down here, but they kind of always go back to whatever their homeostasis, whatever their homeostatic level is. I don't know that I'm happier than most people, but to say am I a naturally happy person, well, I don't take anything or do anything to modify it, so I guess my level of happiness is natural. Am I always happy? No, I'm not. I have had people make comments on here before that I need to smile more, and you look so much prettier when you smile, but I don't always feel like smiling, so I think I'm happy for the most part, but no, I'm not happy all the time, but I don't do stuff to, modify it somehow. Oh, and somebody asked me what was my dad's ghost story. He lives up on literally on the side of a mountain up in Virginia. It's sort of a rural part of Virginia. And the area where he lives, there used to be a cabin up there about 100 years ago, and this man lived up there by himself. And he had not heard of this before he moved up there. And a couple of times he said that he has seen a man up there. Like my dad has a water wheel. And the first time he saw this man standing there looking at his water wheel. And he looked, and then he looked away and looked back, and he was gone. And he saw him one other time, and he described this man, like he could tell you what he was wearing, what he looked like, about how tall he was. And everybody he talked to said that fits perfectly the description of the man that lived up there 100 years ago. He was kind of a hermit. He had this little cabin up there, and he stayed to himself a lot. I think he's only seen him a couple of times, but it's the kind of thing like you look and then you look away and you look back and he's not there. So that's basically it for my dad's ghost story. But no, I've never seen a ghost. A couple of people asked me that. I've never seen a ghost, but it's kind of cool. It was kind of neat to hear my dad tell about the man that he said he saw up there. Do you say fireflies or lightning bugs? I grew up saying lightning bugs, which most people in the South, we don't call them fireflies down here. We say lightning bugs. The next question is, would you ever write a book about one of your characters? Probably not. I don't really think they're that deep. They're kind of shallow, one-dimensional. They're like one-trick ponies, really. I mean, they don't really have much substance. I guess if I were to write about anybody, it'd probably be Lynette. But, even Lynette, I don't know how far I could take it. I don't think I would have enough to really work with to write a book about her. But, well, I guess I could, but I don't think it would be a great story. But, no, I've never really thought about writing a book about any of them. I just make them up as I go. Are your characters based on real people you've met? Kinda. Harvest is based mostly on two people, two women who used to be a part of my life. They no longer are. I don't see them anymore. Especially one of those two people was very Harvest-esque, and I'm I'm glad that I don't have to deal with her anymore. People like Harvest may be funny to watch, but they're not really fun to deal with in real life. Lynette is based on a bunch of people. Lynette is based mainly on my experiences as a child. Um, Having to go with my mother to the beauty shop. She would go sometimes to get a perm or get her hair cut, and usually when she went, it was on a Saturday morning because she worked all week and she couldn't go during the week. So she would go on a Saturday morning. She would go in, get whatever done, and then we would go get groceries or run errands, do whatever. But most of the time, I had to go with her. And this was back in the late 70s, early 80s, back before tablets and electronic devices to keep your kid occupied. So usually I would just end up sitting in the beauty shop reading old magazines and listening to these women gossip. And I have hours of experience listening to women gossip in beauty shops. And that's kind of where she came from. She is the product of my many hours spent as a child in a beauty shop. And people didn't really talk to me. I was pretty quiet, kind of kept to myself, and I just like to listen to people. I wasn't really one to actively participate in conversations. I'm still kind of not. I just kind of hang back. I know it's hard to believe, but I really do. So Harvest is, Lynette is, Charity is pure fiction. I don't know anybody like that. The creepy dentist, I want to plead the fifth on that one. I don't want to talk about. She may or may not be based on somebody that I may or may not have had clean my teeth at one point. Who else do I do? There's poor Scarlett. I haven't done much with her. She's totally made up. And I think that's about it. Somebody asked me, what did I eat for breakfast? I hadn't eaten anything before I did the live stream, which I really started to regret about 20 minutes into it because I was really, really hungry by the time I got done. It was after lunchtime by the time I got done. But see, I don't normally eat early in the morning. I definitely don't like to eat when I first get up. I want to be up and about and moving around a little bit before I eat. I really don't like to eat first thing in the morning. So the morning of the live stream, I had not had anything to eat. How did you come up with Charity? Charity was supposed to be a one-shot deal. I was going to do one video with her just for a laugh, just for fun. I wasn't going to keep doing anything with her, but so many people said, I'd really like to see her again. You really do need to do more with her. And I'm thinking, well, I don't really know what to do with her. I mean, she's a gold digger. I don't know what to do with that. So I really just have to make up more and more stuff. So she was just something I was going to do once, but people wanted me to keep doing it, so I kept doing it. The next question is, do you like rap music? Yes, I do. Do I like all of it? No, but I like a lot of it. I like a lot of the older stuff. Would you say there is a Southern stereotype? Yeah, there are several. I think we all know that. I think we're all pretty aware that there are Southern stereotypes. I don't think we really need to go into what they are. Yes, I think there are multiple Southern stereotypes, and I have dealt with every one of them in real life, especially when I lived up in Illinois. I've heard it all. Yes, there are many Southern stereotypes. Someone asked me, what is my favorite dessert? This is probably going to make some people cringe, but stale Peeps is my favorite dessert. The little Easter marshmallow, sugar-coated marshmallows. When they go stale, they're not as spongy and they taste a little different. That's my favorite. That's my favorite sweet treat in the world. Somebody asked me, how did you come about getting your cats? How did you acquire your cats? Evie came from a shelter where my mom lives. They have a Facebook page, and they actually had this other kitten that was so cute, and we were going to go down there and look at that kitten, but they really were pushing Evie on us. Her name then was Grayson, which I thought was kind of weird for a girl cat, but they had named her Grayson, and she was born there. Somebody brought in a pregnant cat, and she was born there. She was in the litter of kittens that was born. And all the other kittens got adopted, and even the mom got adopted, but nobody wanted her. She had been there for 5 months, and no one wanted her. I don't know why. She's so sweet. But they were really pushing her on us. Oh, this cat's perfect. Oh, the kitten you want to look at is fine, but she's really hyper. I think this cat suits your family better because she's so calm. Yet she was not calm. We got her home and she ran all over the apartment. We were in the apartment at the time and she was just running everywhere. And then I figured out what it was. We had carpet, and I don't think she had ever set foot on carpet where she could really dig her claws in and get some traction. She'd always been on hard floors. Well, once she discovered carpet, she was over the moon. I mean, she could just run and slide and then dig in, and that's how we got Evie. And then about 2 months later, I went up to visit my dad in Virginia, and we stopped by this produce place, and this lady had some kittens there that had been born. Their mother was a feral cat who apparently sort of made a little home under this lady's house and had her kittens under there. And then one day the feral cat left and didn't come back. They think maybe something got her, something happened to her. And there were these little, very, very young kittens under the house. So they didn't know how long they had been under there without her. But they heard them meowing. You can hear them. So they crawled under there and got all the kittens out. And Pumpkin, my little wannabe Siamese, she tried really hard to be Siamese, but she didn't quite make it. And her brothers and sisters were dark there was one other kitten there. But the lady said the other cats were dark with longer hair. So Pumpkin was like the odd man out. But she was one of the kittens, and she really took to me. She was yowling her head off and wouldn't let anybody hold her. And this lady, I was waiting in line to pay for some candy. I said, "Oh, cute kitten," And this lady just thrust this kitten into my arms across the counter and said, "Here." And I laid my candy on the counter, and I'm trying to hold this wild little kitten. And as soon as I held her, she calmed down, and she just sort of nestled into the crook of my arm and got still and quiet. And the lady and I were both going, "Wow." And she said, "That kitten sure does need a home." I said, "Don't do this to me." I just came up here to see my dad. Long story short, we ended up taking her home. She was very small, very dehydrated, malnourished. You could feel her backbone. I mean, she was so skinny. You could hold her in your hand, and it was like holding nothing. It was like holding some cotton balls. She just weighed nothing. She might have been 4 weeks old, maybe. She was very, very small. In fact, I have a vlog. I can't remember the name of it now. Something about visit to my dad's and a bonus or something. But you can actually see a little bit of her at the end of that vlog. You can see how little she is. But she had a great appetite, and she put on weight quickly, and she really rebounded, and she's now the awesome little kitty that I have. So that's how I got my cats. Somebody asked me if I follow horoscopes. No, I do not. That's fine if other people, I know a lot of people like to read them. I don't have any interest in it. Somebody asked me, how do you keep such a sunny disposition? Well, I think there are positive and good things that you can find anywhere. You can look for, I don't mean to sound like a bumper sticker, but you can look for the bad things or you can look for the good things. And I think there's always a lesson to learn if you go through something bad. You can take something positive out of it. I'm tired of looking at everything in a negative light. I'd rather just try to look at things in a positive light. So I try to do that as much as possible. And I think it really changes your outlook on things. So that's really all I know to say about my sunny disposition. I'm not always like this. I have my days. I have my moments where I'm not quite so sunny. This one was good. Somebody asked me if I would do a European meet and greet. Well, yeah, if I had the time and the money, I would love to. Unfortunately, I can't hop in my car and drive over there on a weekend. And it would be great if I could. And I would love to do it one day. I've been thinking about planning a trip. I don't know when this would happen. It wouldn't be anytime soon. I'd have to save up and make some serious plans. But I keep, I've said before I want to go to Scotland and Ireland, and I've really been thinking about it. I can't do it now. I mean, it's very expensive, and I want my kids to be able to go, and to plan a trip like that just takes a lot of. It would take a lot of time, a lot of figuring out how to make that work. So, I mean, I would like to meet some people while I'm over there if possible. But for right now, I don't plan to do a European meet and greet. And then somebody asked me this, and maybe I just read it wrong, but I typed it exactly the way I read it. Why are you in a relationship? Maybe they meant, why am I not? Because I don't want to be. It's really that simple. I don't think everybody has to be in a relationship. I'm not broken or weird because I'm not. I choose to not be in a relationship. That's why I'm not in one. Oh, somebody asked what happened at the mall. If you didn't see it, I did a role play video of Lynette at the mall here in Greensboro, and that was hard. That stressed me out. That wasn't like going into a store and organizing nail polish. That took it to a whole other level of, man, this is really messed up what I'm doing here. And it made me very self-conscious, and it was kind of weird, and I want to do it again, but I'm definitely going to go back on a day when it's not so crowded. And then somebody asked me, would you live on Mars if given the chance? No, I would not. I'm perfectly happy where I am, unless the Earth's about to burn up or something. I mean, I guess if I had to live on Mars, I would, but I have no interest in it. Any update on the tree chopping neighbor? No, it's been remarkably quiet. The only thing I have seen, and this was probably a week or two ago, no, it was before the cruise. One day I came home from work and the garage door was open, which was unusual. They always have it shut. It's very rare to see that door open. He had the garage door open, and maybe I didn't see it right, but it looked like he was in there, and he had a table saw set up in there. And again, maybe I was not seeing this properly, but it looked like he was chopping meat on a table saw. He had a butcher knife, and he was chopping what looked like ribs or something. I don't know. But right after I got home, he shut the garage door. Now, I don't know what that was, but he saw me. He looked up when I went by, and he saw me going, like, what the hell? And then he shut the garage door right after I pulled into the driveway. So that's all I've seen. It's been remarkably quiet over there. Okay. Would you ever be interested in collaborating with someone on a video? Well, I have twice. I've done 2 collaborations. I would be interested in it. The only thing is, it's so hard for me to find time to do stuff. It really is. I've about gotten to the point where I almost feel like my job is really getting in the way. Like, I'm not going to show you, but if you were to see my room right now, it is so full of YouTube stuff that I just have not gotten to. I am getting so far behind in my videos that, if I don't quit my job, I'm never going to catch up because I have no time to work on it. I have more projects that I want to do than I have time to do. So I would love to collaborate with someone, but right now I honestly just don't have the time to put into it. And it wouldn't be fair to them because I wouldn't really be able to devote the time to it that it would deserve. So maybe in the future, but not at this point. Have you ever met any celebrities? Yeah, well, kinda. I've seen some. I met Gene Simmons from Kiss. I met him back in, oh my gosh, when was that? I want to say it was 92 or 93. Yeah, I was dating a DJ in Fayetteville, and we went to a concert together, and I got to go meet backstage actually we were in his dressing room, and I was standing in the doorway, and I heard this voice behind me say, "Excuse me," and I turned around, and he was I was in his way. And I fumbled some kind of something. I don't think I said anything that made sense, but he signed I had this pass on my jacket, and he signed it for me. I still have that somewhere. So I met him. I got to work out with John Bon Jovi once, not literally, but I used to go to this very, very small gym. in a local hotel. It was like part of the hotel, but other outsiders could join it and use it. And he was in Greensboro filming something. This was probably about 10 years, maybe a little more than 10 years ago. He was here filming something, and apparently he was staying at that hotel. I didn't know that. But I went to work out one day at lunch, and the lady at the front desk said, "Now, let me tell you something before you go in there." I said, "What?" She said, "Now, don't freak out." I said, "Okay." She said, "John Bon Jovi's in there. Now, don't bother him, but I just wanted to let you know that he's in there, and, please don't." He didn't say anything to us, but I'm just asking as a personal favor. He's really nice, but just, let him work out. And I went in there, and there he was. Right? I mean, the gym is like this big, and there were maybe 2 other people in there, and he was right there. Oh my God, he was running on the treadmill. No, he was on a stationary bike. That's where he was. And he had on a baseball cap and a t-shirt and some shorts. And honestly, I wouldn't have even known it was him if she hadn't pointed him out. I wouldn't have noticed him. He didn't really stand out. But as soon as I saw him, I said, "Oh my God, that's him. Holy crap." And so we were both in there in this, it wasn't a big room at all. I was in there working out, and so was he, for about 45 minutes together. So I'm going to allow that. I'm going to say that I worked out with John Bon Jovi one day. And I also got to see David Faustino, Bud from Married with Children. I saw him in the same hotel in the lobby. I think it was that same week. It was around the same time I saw him, and I didn't speak to him. I was walking in. I was on my way to work. I was walking through there, and I saw him, and I went, "Bud Bundy." I mean, I didn't say it out loud, but in my mind, I said, "That's Bud Bundy." Huh. And I just kept walking. I didn't want to bother him, So I guess technically I haven't really met anybody other than Gene Simmons. He did shake my hand, and I introduced himself, although it sounded like a squeaky. I mean, I could barely talk, but I'm sure it was really memorable. Have you ever met any other YouTubers? I never have. Not in person, no. I have never met any other YouTubers. This question gives me the willies. Isn't it kind of flattering to be stalked? No, it's not. That's like asking if it's flattering to be chosen to be mugged in the park. It's not flattering. It's scary. It's uncomfortable, and I don't recommend it. No, it's not fun. It occupies your mind. It makes you walk around looking behind yourself all the time. It's very scary. It's not flattering at all, and I don't welcome that. So no, it is not kind of flattering. It is not at all flattering to be stalked. I hope it never happens to you. What is your favorite Southern dish to eat or make? I don't like to make anything. Just be clear on that. I don't like to cook. I don't like to bake. I'm not big on it. My favorite Southern dish, I guess, would probably be either candied sweet potatoes or banana pudding. Either one of those things. Or grits. Real grits with a little bit of butter and salt. Which they actually had grits on the cruise every morning for breakfast. You believe that? I had grits every morning while I was on the cruise. It was so nice. And they were good, too. They were real grits. And then somebody asked me, were you a nerd in high school or a cool kid? Kind of neither. I was, I almost want to say I was kind of like a diplomat. Like I could just kind of go, I was kind of just friends with everybody. I wasn't really in any particular group. I mean, I don't think anybody would classify me as a nerd, but they wouldn't call me a cool kid either. I was just kind of, I was friends with everybody. I didn't really care. I didn't hang out with one particular group of people. I did have kind of a little group. There were 5 of us that did kind of, but we were all kind of the same. We were all just, I don't know what we were, but there are the 5 of us. And when we go to high school reunions, we still clump up just like we did in high school. And I miss them. I don't get to see them as much as I would like. A lot of people don't recognize me at reunions, though. It's always funny to me. They'll go look me up in the yearbook because I tell them who I am, and they go, no, you're not. And I look at pictures of myself, and I don't look that different, but there's just something about me they don't recognize. It's weird. But no, I wasn't a nerd and I wasn't a cool kid. I was just kind of, I don't know. I was a diplomat. That's the only way I know to describe it. I would be friends with anybody. I certainly wouldn't. I was not the kind of kid that felt like I had to just stick with one group of people. And then somebody asked me, would you get a hairless cat? The only way I would get a hairless cat is if it really needed a home. I have no desire to go out and acquire a hairless cat. I mean, I'm sure they're nice and all, but have you ever petted a hairless cat? It's, ugh. If it needed a home, I would give it a home. I would. But I have no desire to have a hairless cat. Does being a paralegal get you out of jury duty? No, it does not. At least not here. You can still be called for jury duty and you still have to serve. Do you ever find yourself slipping into one of your characters during your day-to-day life? No, I don't. I might turn into Lynette a little bit in Bad Traffic, but that's about all. But not, I don't walk around, I don't talk like that in regular life. What age were you when you started vaping? I don't know where they're going with this question. I smoked for 18 years. From 18 to 36, I smoked. I started vaping at 36, and I have done that ever since. And it's kept me from smoking, except for a period of time about that long where I smoked maybe 10 cigarettes total while I dated the dude that I was going out with at the end of last year, and then we parted ways early this year. And he was a smoker. And I learned from that I can't be with a smoker, because if I'm around someone smoking, I'm going to smoke. I'm sorry. I can't. I can resist just about anything, but it's the cigarette. I can't do it. It's my kryptonite. I got to have one. Whew, they're so wonderful. If you've never smoked, don't judge me. You don't know. You don't know. So I started vaping at 36 to stop, to have something, I keep one right here all the time. And a lot of times while I'm setting up, I'll use it. Do I use it all day? No. I can go for several days at a time and not even touch it. And I might use it once or twice every now and then, but it's not something I sit around doing all day. So I was 36 when I started, and it has kept me from smoking. And I've tried everything else, and nothing else works that way. Do you have a favorite film or book, or both? My favorite film, my favorite movie of all time is AI, Artificial Intelligence, is my favorite movie. Pleasantville is the number 2, and then it kind of gets murky after that. But those are my 2 favorites. My favorite book, see, that's tough, because I have a lot of books that I like, and it just depends on the kind of mood I'm in. I really like Mama Day by Gloria Naylor. She's one of my favorite authors. I've read all her stuff. Mama Day is one of my favorites. The Grapes of Wrath is great. Everybody needs to read that. It'll give you a unique perspective on things. We think sometimes that life is so bad now. It tells about this family, the Jodes, dealing with life during the Depression, and it's not far off from the way a lot of people had to live back then. So if you think it's bad now, you need to read that. You really do. I heard stories from my grandparents who lived during that time period, and it was pretty close to what they described in that book. It was horrible for a lot of people. So The Grapes of Wrath, Animal Farm in 1984 by George Orwell. Those are good. I'm sure a lot of you have read them. If not, you really ought to. Brave New World by Aldous Huxley is good. All the Lord of the Rings books. Anything by Gloria Naylor is good. I don't get to read as much as I used to. I really don't. I have a whole stack of books that I want to get to, and I just haven't had time. So those are just some that I can think of right off the bat. Have you ever met anyone in real life who watches your videos? Only a few times. Just a few, not many. Yeah, so it doesn't happen all that often. What is your exercise regimen? That's why I wrote something down. I didn't want to forget this. My exercise regimen is pretty simple. It's I go to the gym 3 days a week, and I go in and I do whatever I want to do. I look at it kind of like a playground. I don't force myself to stick to any certain routine, because for me, I don't like that. I don't like working out with other people. I know that's advice they always give, work out with a buddy. If I had to work out with other people, I would never go. I would find excuses to not go because I don't like working out with other people. I just don't. I prefer to do things by myself. I know it may not seem that way, but I actually am kind of a loner and very quiet in real life, and I don't want to have to talk to people. See, this I have control over. There's no one in here but me, and I don't have to talk to anyone, and that makes me happy for the most part. But yeah, I go in every day or 3 days a week at least, and I go in and I just do what I want to do. I try to do at least some aerobic stuff like treadmill, elliptical, whatever, some weight training and floor exercises and stretching. But one thing I want to recommend to you, and I found this many years ago, let's see, it would have been about 92, the summer of 92 maybe. I was working in a factory and I hurt my back. And I went to a chiropractor for quite a while trying to get my back straightened out. We finally did. But this is something that the chiropractor told me to try to strengthen my lower back. He said, you need to strengthen your lower back muscles. And he recommended, it's called Calinetics by Callan Pinkney. Now, there is an exercise video that you could buy, and I bought the VHS tape of the exercises. You can get it on DVD, and I'm sure there are other formats. And there's also a book about Calinetics. Now, if you watch the video, you're going to laugh because it's very, very 80s. It's very cheesy lighting and backgrounds, and their leotards. It is screaming 80s. But if you can look beyond that, I think it's kind of cool, actually. It's kind of neat to see. If you can look beyond that and try the exercises, and she shows you how to do everything. These are exercises that you've probably never done, and it works your muscles in a way that you may not be used to. And they can be difficult at first, but if you stick with it, it does get easier and you will definitely see results. I still do Calinetics. I do different aspects of Calinetics every time I go to the gym. They have a floor exercise area where I go, and I do some of the Calinetics exercises there. And I try to do that every single time I go. I spend maybe 10 to 15 minutes per visit to the gym just on my Calinetics exercises. And there's a bunch to choose from. So after you do the video a few times, you kind of memorize it. So I've been doing this now since 92. So, pretty long while I've been doing it consistently. I mean, I never stopped. I kept doing it on a regular basis. And it's made a big difference in my core strength and muscle tone and stuff like that. So that's my exercise regimen is basically just whatever I feel like doing. But I do try to incorporate aerobics, strength training, and stretching, and the Calinetics stuff. Do I watch Game of Thrones? No, I don't. I don't have cable. I don't really watch a lot of TV. This is why I don't bother with cable, because I don't have time to watch it. So no, I've never watched that. What's your favorite ride at Carowinds? This is going to sound really lame, but the rock and roller is my favorite. I don't know what it is about that ride. It makes me just laugh my ass off every time I get on that thing. It's one of these rides. It's kind of like an old boardwalk ride, like just an old, like something from the 50s. I love the rock and roller. It's my favorite ride at Carowinds. And this question was another one that was kind of weird. Do you have a backup profession? And I'm assuming that this person thinks that YouTube is all I do. I don't know. That's all they asked. Do you have a backup profession? Well, I'm a paralegal. I mean, that is my profession. YouTube is a hobby. This is not what I do for a living. It's not my profession. So, no, I don't have a backup profession any more than anybody with a job does. That's what I do for a living. I guess if I needed a backup profession, I would find one. But no, at this point, I don't have a backup profession. Any artists or bands that you're sick of hearing about? No, and I'll tell you why. I don't read stuff about artists and bands. I don't bother keeping up with that stuff because it doesn't interest me. I have other things that I would rather occupy my brain with, the space in my head. I have other things I would rather focus on than artists and bands. There's music I like and music I don't like, and that's really all I worry about. I don't spend a lot of time and energy focusing on artists and bands, so that's why I'm not sick of them, because I don't ever bother listening to stuff about them. Would you change anything about your appearance if you could? Nope, would not. And I hope everybody at one point will reach a point where they feel that way. I'm good. I'm happy with the way I look. My appearance is fine. Do you think you'll have more kids? I'm 44 and a half, so I'm going to say no. I'm not interested in, galloping towards 50 and having to change diapers. No, thank you. Somebody asked how my mom was doing. She's good. She's good. She doesn't get around as much as she used to. She's pushing 80, and she's having a hard time accepting the fact that she can't do all the stuff that she used to do. I think it's been hard on her to, and I imagine it's got to be awful to reach a point that you can't get out and go and do as much as you did when you were younger, and it's not going to get any better. I tried to get her to go on the cruise with us, and she said, no, I can't, because I probably won't be able to sleep, and, it'll be miserable, and so she ended up not going, which I was kind of bummed out, but I couldn't talk her into it, so she's doing as well as she can, I suppose. Is there a reason you don't like coffee? Yeah, it tastes bad. That's why I don't like it. To me, it tastes bad, which is funny because I come from a whole family of coffee junkies. I mean, these people, they can barely get out of the bed before they're reaching for a coffee cup. I mean, they just got to have their coffee. I think it's disgusting. I can't stand the taste of it. I don't want anything flavored like coffee. I don't want anything like it. Now, I love the smell of fresh roasted coffee beans. Hate the taste. And one of my jobs as a child was to get up every morning before everybody else and go make a pot of coffee. That was my job. That was one of my chores. My brother and I had lots of chores to do, and that was one of mine. I can make coffee in my sleep. I mean, I know how to do it. I can do it with my eyes closed. I've done it hundreds and hundreds of times. But no, I don't like it. Is there a reason I don't like coffee? Because I think it tastes terrible. It's really that simple. If you could change one thing about the ASMR community, what would it be? I thought about that question right after I added it to this list. Really, the only thing I would change, because I think that the community is really great, the only thing I would change would be if we could just find some way to filter out the trolls, the negative people that come here for no reason other than to try to stir up trouble. If there was some way that we could just filter them out before they had a chance to do that. Because I know I'm not the only one that gets sick and tired of dealing with them, and it can really mess up your mojo after a while. It's like it can really get to you, even if you try not. It's easy to say, well, don't let them get to you, but it's not always that simple. So the only thing I would change would be if we had some way to just eliminate them before they could get in here. That would be great. So this is going to sound weird, but let me explain. Somebody asked me, do you ever have to deal with bears in Greensboro? Yes, we have had to deal with bears in Greensboro. We had a couple of bears maybe 5 years ago. It was on the news all the time about there were these bears running around in Greensboro, like in populated areas. There were these brown bears. And I don't know how they ended up here, but they got flushed in here. I guess their environment got shredded or something. I don't know. But somehow they ended up here. And they ended up having to capture them and relocate them. But yeah, we've had bears in Greensboro to the point where they were doing public service announcements about, don't let your small pets outside alone, and don't leave your kids outside, and, call the police or whoever if you see one. I never saw one in person, but yeah, we've had bears here. How did you deal with depression when you were younger? Best way I could, like a lot of people. When I was growing up in the 70s and 80s, nobody talked about depression. This was not something that was okay to talk about, and a lot of people still feel that way. That's why I try to be very open about it, that yes, I have dealt with depression and anxiety. We need to stop making it such a taboo subject. there's nothing wrong with you if you deal with it. It doesn't mean you're defective. You know, it's a very common thing. But I dealt with it as a child the only way I could. I was very fidgety. I still am. I'm sitting here fidgeting with my bracelet right now. I cried a lot. I was very sensitive. I really didn't have any way to deal with it other than to just be miserable. I spent a lot of time by myself. That was, if I was having trouble with anxiety, if I could just go out in the woods by myself and just be out where it's quiet and peaceful, that was a good way to kind of calm it down, at least temporarily. And depression, it seemed to help with that too, just to get out and take a long walk in the woods alone. That was a way I would deal with it. So I dealt with it the best I could, like a lot of people back then. Do you hunt? No, I don't. Seems boring to me. I know a lot of people do it. I fish, but I've never gone hunting. I've never had any interest in it. I've met people from North Carolina, but none of them have had an accent. Is that normal? Well, I don't think I have an accent, so yeah, I guess it is normal. I remember when I lived in Illinois and I got ready to move back down here, I said, I got to go back where people don't have accents. Y'all people up here talk funny. All of y'all do. You sound weird, especially people from Wisconsin. My God. They thought that was funny. If you met people in North Carolina with no accent, that's it's pretty common. There are people with all kinds of accents in North Carolina. I mean, if you go to the Outer Banks, they're not going to sound like people here where I live. If you go down to the southeastern tip of North Carolina, it's not going to sound like people here. People in the mountains don't sound like people here. And then you have people that are transplants. They move here from other parts of the country or the world even. They're not going to sound like me. I work with a lady who came here from Bosnia about almost 20 years ago. She definitely doesn't sound like me. She still has a very strong accent. It's really nice, though. I like the way she talks. But she doesn't. I guess you could say she does have an accent, but it's not like mine at all. My kids don't sound like me. And that's partly because for several years, well, for 3 years, when I was with my ex and we were still married and he has 3 kids, they don't have a Southern accent because their mom is not from here and they talk more like her. And I think my kids picked that up without meaning to. They picked up on that, and living there, just those 3 years changed the way they talk, and they still don't talk like me. It's very different. They don't sound. They used to. Like if I go back and watch old home movies before we moved in there, they sounded more like me, but now they don't. So yeah, it's very common to meet people from North Carolina that don't have an accent. You got to remember, we have over 10 million people in North Carolina. It was always funny when I lived up in Illinois. A couple of times, this happened at least twice that I can remember. People would come up to me and go, "You're from North Carolina? Oh my goodness! Oh wow, North Carolina. You know, I knew somebody from North Carolina. Bob. Do you know Bob?" Like there were 9 people that live in the state. I'm like, no, oddly enough, I don't think I do. Yeah, we have over 10 million people here. So odds are you're going to run into some people that don't all sound like me or Andy Griffith or, whatever. So, yeah, that's fine. Then somebody asked me, what is your favorite video to film? I don't really have a favorite. I like doing all of them. So it's kind of hard to say. I kind of like I guess if I had to pick, I'd say the ones where we go through sales circulars and I talk about stuff in it. I really think those are fun because I feel like we're just chatting. It's like we're shopping from the comfort of home and we're just looking at stuff. And I don't know, there's just something kind of comfy about it. That's probably my favorite. Do you watch ASMR videos? I don't. I really, very rarely do I ever do that. Number one, because I don't have time to, because I'm always doing other stuff. Like right now, it's almost 11 o'clock at night. I still have 3 or 4 things to do before I can go to bed tonight, and I got to get up at 6 in the morning. I don't have time to do it. and they don't work for me anymore. Since I started making videos, ASMR videos don't work for me anymore. The only ones that work are a few that worked before I started making videos. So I just don't. Where did you get the idea to organize nail polish? I think it started when I was doing a store walkthrough and we got over to the cosmetics section and I was going to put some nail polish back and I picked up one bottle and I went to put it in a spot and then I discovered, nope, there's a bottle in that spot that's not in the right spot. Let me get that bottle, put this one in there, and then and then I took it, oh, the spot it was supposed to go in had something else in it that wasn't supposed to be there, and it just went on and on and on. It went on for like 5 minutes. And several people said, I really enjoyed that part where you were messing with the nail polish. Do you think you could do a whole video like that? And that's how it got started. People just really liked it. So I started doing whole videos where that's all we did. What do your friends and family think about your channel? Well, a lot of my friends and family don't know about it. I don't talk about it because if you've ever tried to explain ASMR to people, it's tiresome. Most people don't have any idea what you're talking about, or they think it's like softcore porn or something, and you lose them, and then they, oh, tingles. Gotcha. Your secret's safe with me. It's not like that. Oh, of course not. Of course not. I won't tell anybody. So I don't bother telling anybody about it. My immediate family knows. Some of my extended family knows. My friends know. People that are close to me know. But no, I don't go around blabbing about it. So they're supportive. They think it's cool. They don't really ask me a lot about it. So at first they did, but then it's kind of like, okay. They don't really ask about it anymore, other than every now and then. You still making those videos that what was it called? Yeah, I still do that. Oh, all right. That's about all I want to know. Do you personally experience ASMR, and what are your triggers? Yes, I do. I've had ASMR since I was about 5. My triggers, the videos that I liked before I started making them were all soft-spoken. I don't really like whisper videos that much. It's just not my flavor of ice cream. I just, I would never comment and say this is an ASMR because I know it is. It's just not for me. Soft-spoken, no eating. I can't stand eating sounds because I also have misophonia and I can't handle the eating sounds. Soft-spoken, clinky sounds like jewelry, like maybe a charm bracelet, something like that. Typing, that was one of the first things I searched for, was the sound of people typing. I love that sound. That's about it, really. I don't have a lot of triggers. That's about all I got. In real life, I love real life accidental, unintentional ASMR because it's always been the best for me. Humming every now and then if I'm in a store and there's someone humming, it has to be just right, kind of soft, not too loud, not too intrusive. That's a really good one for me. Or soft whistling. It has to be very soft. If it's loud at all, it's just annoying. It's a very fine line there. But a little bit of soft whistling is really, that humming and the whistling, oh my God, those are so good for me. They about make my knees buckle. Like I got to go sit down. I mean, it is so strong. It's like I feel like I got to sit down somewhere. Someone asked me if I would do a gaming related video. No. Actually, tonight I played a race car video game with my son downstairs. That's the first time I played a video game in I don't know how long. It was fun though. We had a good time, but I have no desire to do a gaming related video. What is your favorite thing to do in your spare time? I'm doing it right now, making videos. My favorite thing is fishing, but I don't get to go very often. So and it's been so hot that I don't like to go when it's really hot. For one thing, I feel like I'm gonna have a heat stroke, and for another thing, the snakes get really bad, and I ain't dealing with no daggum snakes. So making videos is my favorite thing. Do you regret not doing something? I do. I have something, and I think about this every now and then. I regret when I was younger not speaking up and speaking out and sticking up for kids who were being bullied in school. I got picked on and bullied a lot, and it was really tough. And I think it made me more sensitive to kids who were being bullied. Like I noticed it more. And it really hurt me. It just broke my heart to see. But I didn't have the guts to stand up and, confront the person doing it. And I regret that. I still regret not doing that. And if I could go back, I would do it in a heartbeat. And I regret that a great deal. Not sticking up for those kids because I know how it feels. What is your favorite TV show? It's kind of a tie between Doc Martin and Frasier. Those are my two favorite TV shows. I have all of them on DVD. Those are my two favorite shows. What is the craziest thing you have done? I've not really lived that crazy of a life. I mean, as far as doing crazy stuff, I did shrink wrap a Mustang one time as a prank in a parking lot. One of my coworkers, a friend, we all three worked together. This friend and I shrink wrapped a car just as a joke right before he came out. It was hilarious. Probably the craziest thing I ever did was ride on the back of a four-wheeler in a Smokey the Bear costume. That was wild. My kid's dad, when we were married, we went and did this thing at Pope Air Force Base one year for Earth Day, and I had to wear the Smokey the Bear costume, and it was like 1,000 degrees inside that costume. It was so hot. I sweated. I bet I lost 10 pounds in water weight wearing that thing out there because it was so hot. The Smokey the Bear costume is very big. It is not ventilated, and it smells like a gym sock inside that thing. It's really gross. It's very, very smelly in there. But we came riding into where the kids were. There were a bunch of kids there. They were doing this big thing for Earth Day, and I had to hop on the back of a four-wheeler in this costume. Now, mind you, Smokey is about this big around, and you have these huge pants, like you have a big ass, like, and you have to get yourself up on the four-wheeler, and you can't see, like, there's this mesh, like screen stuff, and I had major tunnel vision because I wore this head all day, and when I took it off, I still had, if you've never had tunnel vision, it's awful. Like, you can't see anything over here. You can just see right here for a while until your eyes adjust. But I couldn't see what I was doing to get on this four-wheeler. And you have feet, like you have these big furry feet that are like this big. They're enormous feet, like huge. And you have to lift your big ass and your huge feet, get it over the thing, and then somebody gets in front and they drive and you have to hold on, but your arms are way out here and you can't see anything, and you're supposed to wave, but I couldn't see who to wave at, so I was waving at an empty field, and the kids were like over here. So I got to be Smokey the Bear for Earth Day one year for a bunch of kids. So that's probably the craziest thing I've ever done. I remember I was still smoking at that time, and my ex smoked as well, and we wanted a smoke break, and they said, well, just make sure she doesn't go where the kids are, because number one, they don't want to see Smokey pull his own head off, and number two, we don't want to send a bad message with Smokey back there having a cigarette, so, go hide somewhere behind a building if you have to smoke. I have a picture of me somewhere holding Smokey's head, smoking a cigarette. It was a crazy day. It was actually a lot of fun. Who inspires me? Well, I don't know if that means like for videos, because if you're talking about videos, everybody inspires me. I get ideas from everywhere and everybody. If it's for living my life, a lot of my relatives and ancestors and things that I know about them and how strong they were and the things that they had to overcome, they really inspired me to work hard and be a good person and keep going. What is your favorite place you've ever traveled to? God, that's tough because, I don't know. I honestly don't know how to answer that. Because every place I've ever been to, there was something great about it. There's something I could say, I really enjoyed going here because of this, or it was really cool to get to see that. I guess if I had to pick one, I would say Niagara Falls, because it was just so breathtaking. I mean, to see that, it's one thing to see video or pictures, but in real life, it's phenomenal to see. So probably Niagara Falls would be my favorite. Favorite authors and books. Gloria Naylor, Naylor, is one of my favorite authors. Stephen King is awesome. Tolkien, those are probably the ones that come to mind first. Who was the first person that told you? Wait a minute. Oh, sorry, I read that wrong. Who was the first person that you told that you make ASMR videos? Probably my current ex, because, I told him I was going to make videos. I was going to make a video when I came back from my therapy session where my therapist pushed me into doing it. I said, I'm going to be making an ASMR video tonight. And he said, what's that? I said, well, it's, the videos I watch to help go to sleep. I'm going to try to make one of those. And he said, why? I said, because I want to. Well, how long is it going to take? I don't know. Well, what are you going to do? I have no idea. I had no idea what I was doing. I guess he was the first person I ever told. And after that, I didn't tell anybody for a while. It was just this low-key thing that I like doing. What do your kids think about your success on YouTube? They think it's cool, but it's, they're kind of curious to see the play button. They're really interested in that. It hasn't come yet, but they are interested in that. They think it's cool, but it's not something that we talk about. It's like, I don't know. I don't think they give it a lot of thought. What has been the best and worst thing about YouTube? I think the best thing is the people that I've gotten to meet, and the conversations that I've had with some people have been really, really great. Getting to know people from all over the world that I would have never gotten to know otherwise. I think that's the best part. And also, along with that, getting to help people, making videos that help people sleep, help them deal with anxiety, stress. Just knowing that you can do something that you enjoy that also helps people. I mean, that's you can't ask for anything better than that. The worst thing is the trolls. They really are. People say, well, you need to just read their comments and laugh about them. Make a video reading their comments and laugh. I can't do that. You may not know how personal and cruel some of these comments can be. I mean, I can't read them and laugh. I can't. Maybe I'm not strong enough, but the trolls are definitely the worst thing about YouTube. What changed your mind about having children? See, some of these questions are really personal. There were some that were too personal, and I'm not going to answer them. I'll answer that one. When I turned 30, I always said I was never going to have kids. But when I turned 30, I don't know, turning 30 was a major milestone. It's like, oh my God, I'm not a kid anymore. I'm like a real grown-up. And then I got to thinking, if you ever do want to have a kid, you might want to think about that, because you're not a kid anymore. You're 30. I mean, you don't want to be a senior citizen chasing a toddler around. So I decided, if you want to do it, you may want to go ahead. So, yeah, that's what changed my mind. I got old. Is being a paralegal a satisfying job? Let's get real for a minute here. It was up until March, when my attorney left and took all of my good work with him. All my patent work, 95% of it went out the door. And I was left doing stuff that I don't know how to do, and I have no direction, and everything I try to do is wrong, and all I get is criticism and very little direction, and no, it's not satisfying anymore. It went from the best job I've ever had, plummeted down to one of the worst jobs I've ever had. And no, I don't like it anymore. Still don't have any word on what's going to happen with our firm. I'm hoping that once we're acquired, things will change. But at this point, I don't know. I don't know if they're going to change or not. I hope I can get back to patent work. That's what I'm really good at it. That was something I could do, and I was really good at it. What I'm doing now, I don't even know what I'm doing. It's like nobody knows what I'm doing. Nobody knows how to help me with it. They just say, well, just do it. Well, I don't know how to do it. Well, figure it out. You're smart. Just figure it out. And then it's not always something that you can just figure out. So is it a satisfying job? It was up until March, and now it sucks. Any advice for a first-time traveler to the USA? I think the first thing I'd say is don't believe every stereotype you hear about people in the USA. Don't think we're all a certain way. We're not. I promise you we're not. Do we have obnoxious people here? Yes, we do. Of course we do. They're everywhere. Don't think we're all a bunch of horrible people, because we're not. And keep in mind that wherever you go, they may not act like people where you came from. I know that sounds obvious, but something as simple as personal space can vary greatly from region to region. Like, people around here are big fans of personal space. I am. I want people about that far away. Arm's length, you're good about right there. Don't come in here. But some people that want to climb in your shirt while they talk to you, they'll get right here. And if you're somebody who comes from a region where you talk like this, and you go to a region where people like you here, they may be a little bit standoffish, and they may seem a little cold and distant. But it's just that you're doing something they're not comfortable with, and you may not even realize it. But that applies no matter where you're going. The main thing I would say is, if you're coming here for the first time, keep an open mind. I think people, for the most part, are very friendly here. I believe that. No matter where you go in the United States, I think people are going to be pretty friendly. There will be jerks. There will be a-holes, no matter where you go. But we're not all awful people. We're not, I promise. Are you planning to do more live streams? I am. I do plan to. I probably shouldn't wait a year before I do another one. Do you watch Whitney Thor on TLC? She's from Greensboro. I used to listen to her on 107.5 KZL before she went on to have her show. But I don't have cable, so I can't watch her. But yeah, she was good on 107.5. I was really happy for her when she got that show. That was awesome. Does staticky radio give you tingles? No, I can't stand a staticky radio. It just crawls up my spine. I have to fix it. I hate it when I go in a store, and I know some of the smaller stores around here, like, they'll take a radio and they'll play it over the loudspeaker, and it's staticky. It drives me crazy. I have to get out of there. I can't stand a staticky radio. Ugh. I either want to fix it or turn it off. Who is your favorite ASM artist? Gentle Whispering. Hands down. There is no close second. She's everything. What is your favorite Southern saying? Had to be dadgummit. Or, no, I'm sorry, dagnabbit. I'm thinking of Mater. I watched Cars 3 the other day with my son. Dagnabbit, because when I get really mad, I can say dagnabbit, and it kind of diffuses my anger a little bit. I can't say it without smiling. That's my favorite Southern saying. What do you think your Southern perspective brings to your ASMR that no one else has? See, I don't really think I can answer that. I think that's something other people would have to answer, because I honestly don't know. I don't think it's so much my Southern perspective. I think it's because I'm, like, way older than everybody else. I'm about twice as old as most of the people that do this. I'm walking around with a walker and eating my tapioca pudding compared to most of y'all. I don't know if it's so much because I'm from the South, or as it is that I'm just really old and rickety and falling apart. I don't know. I couldn't answer that, honestly. I don't know what the answer is to that. I don't know what I bring to it. I guess people have to decide that for themselves. Oh, and then this one dude made this comment. I saw it about 15 times. He said that I needed to stream later in the day to get more viewers, and I read that and just laughed. I thought, I couldn't keep up with the viewers and the questions I already had in the feed. I'm glad I didn't stream later in the day. My computer probably would have blown up. I mean, I'm glad I didn't do it later, because do you see? These are the things I did not get to. So I'm glad I did it when I did, because if I had had more viewers, I wouldn't have been able to keep up. Well, I didn't keep up. That's why I'm doing this now. Would you ever do a meet and greet? I've thought about it. Honestly, I'm not terribly comfortable with the idea of doing it, simply because, like I said, with the stalker situation, I don't know how I would feel with letting people know when I'm going to be somewhere. If you've ever dealt with a legitimate stalker, you start changing the way you do stuff. It's not cute, it's not flattering. It's very scary and it affects every aspect of your life. It's very stressful. That is my main reason why I'm not too keen on doing a meet and greet. Um, I don't know how I would feel about that unless there were people from my area that I spent some time talking to, like messaging back and forth, and felt a little more comfortable with them. I might with a very few people, but I certainly wouldn't announce that I was going to be somewhere. No, not after what I've dealt with. No, I will not do that. Um, I don't know what brought this question up. Somebody said, "Do you do yard work on a hot sunny day?" I'll tell you when I do yard work. I do yard work when I can find the time to do it and the weather cooperates. If it's not raining and my yard needs to be mowed, I go mow it. If it's 95 degrees outside, so be it. I drink a lot of water and take breaks when I need it. So if it's a hot sunny day and it's the only day that week that I know I have time to do it and can do it, that's when I go out and do it. If it's hot, then I'm just going to have to be hot. So yes, I do. What is your favorite season? Probably fall. Because usually by the time fall gets here, I'm so sick and tired of the heat that it's, that first morning you walk out and that oppressive humidity doesn't slap you in the face right off the bat, and it's kind of crisp and it's like, oh, it's so nice. It's not hot, it's not humid, it's just perfect. I love that. I think fall is probably my favorite time of year. Do you prefer movies or TV shows? I like both. I'm not going to pick one or the other. Are you going to bring back the creepy dentist lady? I might. I don't know. I can't really think of much else for her to say. I mean, I've about played her out. She's very one dimensional. I might. I don't have any plans to do anything with her anytime soon. Were you nervous about your first video? Oh yeah, very, very nervous. I didn't know how to talk. Because the voice that you hear is not how I sound in everyday life. I do actually sound kind of different. I didn't know how to do it. I didn't know how to present my voice. My everyday voice is deeper than this by quite a bit. I don't sound like this all the time. If you were to hear me sing, it might be kind of a shock because I don't sound like this. So yes, I was very nervous. There were a lot of things I didn't know how much of the jewelry I should handle. I didn't know how much I should talk. I was very, very nervous, but I enjoyed it. I really did. Do you like doing YouTube videos? Well, I certainly hope so, because this is my 1141st video, I think. Yes, I do enjoy doing YouTube videos very much. Don't tell YouTube, but I do it for free. Don't tell them I said that. How did you come up with Harvest? Well, like I said, she was based on a couple of people from my past. And the name came from a Frasier episode where Niles and Daphne had this doula named Harvest. That's where her name came from. But yeah, she's really over the top. The people I knew in real life weren't as bad as she is. Did you ever think your channel would grow so much? No, I didn't. I truly didn't. I'm still amazed. I started doing this just for fun. I didn't think anybody'd want to watch it. It was just a little hobby for me. So yeah, I'm still surprised. I'm tickled to death, but I'm still surprised. Did you always want to do ASMR? No, I never even thought about it until about 3.5 years ago. And I remember my kids and I were going to make this tank out of Legos. And we have this huge container of Legos. And we were going to make a blue tank. So we had to sort through the Legos and pick out blue ones. We wanted it to be all blue. And we're picking through the Legos. And for some reason, the sound of the Legos, and I was talking about the pieces, and it just occurred to me, I thought, somebody ought to make a video, like an ASMR video doing that. I wonder if anybody's ever done an ASMR video with Legos before. And that's the first time it ever occurred to me. I thought, maybe I could make a video. Huh. And until then, it had never occurred to me to do it. I mean, I just like watching Gentle Whispering stuff, and it never occurred to me to try it until we were messing with those Legos. And I thought about it for a few months, but I didn't say anything to anybody. And then it came up in a therapy session, and it was the first thing that popped into my mind after fishing of something I could do for myself that was just for me, just for fun. And she kind of pushed me into doing it. And here's another oddball question. Have you ever owned rabbits? I don't know why anybody would ask me that, but we did have a couple of rabbits when I was a kid. My dad built this rabbit hutch, and we had some rabbits when I was little. I was very, very young. I barely remember it. Somewhere I have some pictures of them, but yes, I have owned rabbits. Are you an introvert or an extrovert? Now see, here's something where you might look at this and go, well, she's clearly an extrovert. But if you saw me in the real world, I'm not like this. I mean, you can ask anybody. You can ask people who work with me, people who know me. Like, Mary is nothing like that. Oh my God. Wow. If they saw my videos, they wouldn't believe it was me. I'm very quiet. One thing I love about my job, about the only thing I love about my job anymore, is that I have very little interaction with people. And for me, that's like heaven on earth. I work in my office all day by myself. I might talk to 2 people a day, and that's it. And most of my communication is by email. I don't have to talk to anybody face to face, and it's like heaven on earth. I would hate a job where I had to talk to people all day. I am pretty introverted. And to me, when you're talking about introvert or extrovert, and my mom and I had this long discussion about this recently, and we don't agree on what makes an introvert or an extrovert. She said, well, you're clearly an extrovert because you make these videos, and an introvert would never do that. But I disagree. I think when you're talking about introverts or extroverts, it really comes down to where you get your energy from. Where do you draw your energy? How do you recharge yourself? When you feel that you need to be recharged, do you draw energy from being with people, or does that drain your energy? Do you draw energy from being alone, or does that drain your energy and you crave interaction with people to recharge yourself? Being around people drains my energy big time. Now, that's not to say I don't like being around people. I do. I'm not a big fan of crowds. I can do it, but I'm not. I have to recharge. I have to be alone. I prefer one-on-one conversations or just small groups. I like to be by myself as much as possible. I jealously guard my alone time. I don't like to have it infringed upon. In the evenings, I spend my time with my kids. That's time for them. That's time for us to spend time together. But they're a lot like me. We'll spend some time together, and then there's no announcement or anything, but then we all just kind of part ways, and we just kind of each go to our own room, and we just want to be alone. And it's very natural. It just happens. There's just this, we come together at dinner time, and then we just kind of break apart. We'll sit, or we'll play a game, or we play Uno or whatever. We'll talk about stuff, and then we all just kind of drift apart. And that's usually what we do. I draw my energy from being alone. I enjoy it. I'd rather be alone. That's just where my energy comes from. It doesn't have anything to do with making videos or any of that stuff, but my mom and we just finally had to agree to disagree, because she looked at it like, well, I'm an introvert and I would never do what you do, therefore you are not an introvert. And I disagree with that, but we just left it alone. Do you get offers to do sponsored videos? I do. I've never done one. I don't really have any interest in it. A sponsored video just feels like a commercial, and I have no interest in doing a commercial. So no, I don't really have any interest in it. Do you ever feel nervous vlogging in stores? No, I don't. I get this question all the time. I never feel nervous. I don't. I feel like I'm just talking to somebody. It probably helps that I talk to myself all the time. I'm very comfortable doing it. So walking around talking to myself in a store doesn't bother me a bit. What got you interested in angels? Yeah, that's a good question. That's very astute. That's very observant to pick up on that. I have several little angel figurines in my house. The thing that got me, and they asked, was it religion? It wasn't religion. It was I wrote my book River Road, and one of the main characters is an angel. He's an agent of Satan, but he's still an angel. And I spent 4 years and 4 months writing that story, and I felt like I got to know him personally, like he was real. I mean, I felt like he was real, and I got interested in angels, started reading all kinds of things about them, and whenever I see an angel, like I have two glass figurines, a bigger one and a smaller one in my kitchen of angels, it makes me think of him, and I really enjoyed his character, and seeing those angels reminds me of him, because he may be an agent of Satan, but he's actually a pretty good guy. He's in the sequel that I'm writing now, and you're going to learn a lot more about him and his past, and some other stuff that you didn't see coming. I didn't see it coming until I started writing it. Some really interesting stuff about him and Liddy that you didn't know. Do you enjoy receiving requests? I do, I really do, but I feel overwhelmed and I feel kind of bad at this point because right now, as of this evening, I have 60 requests backed up, and I have a hard time getting to those requests because I have other stuff I want to do. I enjoy getting them. I just feel bad that when you make them, I'm probably not going to get to them anytime soon because I have a job and kids, and I just have a hard time getting to them. And some people get kind of mad, like, I made this request a whole week ago and you still haven't done it. You act like you care about your channel, but clearly you don't. I mean, I thought you were great, but it's been a whole week and you haven't done it. Well, I'm not a vending machine. You can't put in your request and have it come out. Some people do get kind of cranky about it. That annoys me because I don't know. But I do enjoy it. I just hate I can't do them as quickly as I would like. Do you have a Whole Foods near you? And if so, do you shop there? I do. Yeah, we do. We have Whole Foods, we have Farmers Market, we have the Deep Roots Market. We have a bunch of those crunchy stores around here. I don't shop there, number one, because it's too far from my house and I don't feel like driving out there, and I can get the same kind of stuff at other stores cheaper. There's really nothing that they have that I feel like going out there to get. So I go there I bet I've been to Whole Foods twice in my whole life. It's nice and all, but no, I don't shop there. What would you be doing if you weren't making ASMR videos? Well, if I weren't making a video tonight, I'd probably be asleep because it's already after 11. But I guess I'd still be selling stuff on eBay, which sucks because I don't even recommend doing that anymore. They've changed their policies and procedures to the point that if you're a small seller, it's not even worth it anymore. I think they're trying to squeeze out the smaller sellers in favor of the really big ones because they make more money off the bigger ones. And I think they really have gotten to the point that they don't feel like the smaller sellers are worth the trouble. So I'm glad that I don't have to do it anymore. I do it a little bit, but not much. Do you love cooking? No, I don't. I do it because I have to, because my kids, unfortunately, I got them in the habit of getting 3 meals a day, and now I'm paying for it. I'm kidding. They like to eat occasionally, so I still have to cook. We very rarely go out to eat, so I do cook quite a bit. But no, I don't enjoy it. I certainly don't love it. I do it because I have to do it. If I never had to cook again, it would be fine with me. Do you call soft drinks soda or pop? I call it either one of those things. Around here, believe it or not, in this area, the people I know, they don't call it soda or pop. They don't call it either one of those things. I call it getting a drink. Now, I know that has a different meaning to most people, but growing up in my family, we said, you want to go get a drink? And that meant, do you want a Pepsi or whatever? Or a lot of people will call it a Pepsi or a Coke, or a drink, like I do. Just, I'm going to go in here in the store and get me a drink. And when I say that, and my kids say the same thing, they know I mean a soda, not an alcoholic beverage. So I've never called it soda or pop. And nobody around here that I know calls it that either. Do you still consider YouTube to be a hobby or more of a job at this point? Like, has it become less for you and more for others? It's still a hobby for me. It's not a job at all. And I don't want it to become a job because honestly, I'm afraid if it became my only job, I think that would take some of the fun out of it. When you feel like, oh, I got to pay bills, I got to keep making videos or I won't be able to pay my bills. Then it just becomes stressful. Has it become less for you and more for others? It's still all for me for the most part, honestly. I mean, I enjoy doing it. I like the challenge of it. I like the interaction with people, not face to face, but, just by email and messages and stuff. I enjoy hearing from people, except the trolls. It's still a hobby and it's still something that I'm doing for me. I'm glad people benefit from it, but ultimately I'm just doing it because I enjoy it. Do you use public libraries? I don't know where they were going with that question, but yes, I do. I don't go as much as I used to, but when my kids were younger, I went more, but I do. Yeah, I still go to public libraries. And then somebody asked me, rhinestones or glitter? Yes. Yes to all. Rhinestones and glitter are awesome. Do you still sell on eBay? Very little. I don't really do much with eBay anymore because, like I said, it's a pain in the butt and there's very little payoff. Have you enjoyed your first year as a homeowner? Well, you have to keep in mind, this is the third house I've bought. Homeownership is not a new thing for me. I bought my first house in 2003. And and then I owned another house, and then I owned this house. So I've been a homeowner before. I've spent a good chunk of my adult life being a homeowner. I do like it. It's more work than living in an apartment, but it's worth it. It is so worth it. It seems like there's always something that needs to be done. Like I've got some people coming this week to do some work on trimming my crepe myrtles and removing a tree from the front yard, and it's going to cost me $500, but it's got to be done, and it's too big of a job. I can't do it. I don't have the ability to do it, and I'm certainly not going to go out in that heat and do it, but it's got to be done. There's always something that has to be done, but it's worth it. To me, it's worth it. How much of your role play videos is in the moment improvisation? Most of it is improv. I may have some basic concepts in mind when I get started, like just I'll have some props and a few things that I want to talk about. Sometimes I'll take a little post-it note and I'll put some notes if there's some stuff I want to remember, and I'll stick it on the tripod. I will tape it to the tripod, and you can't see it because it's right down here. I can see it, but you can't if there's something I want to remember and I'm afraid I'll forget, because my mind kind of goes blank when I start doing those videos. And I just talk. I just let that character out, and I just let her talk, and she can just say whatever she wants to say. And a lot of times I don't know where it's going to go. I don't know what she's going to say. So sometimes I say things that people take the wrong way or they are offended by it. I don't mean it, but I don't plan ahead of time how it's going to go. So most of it is improv. Yeah, some of them are completely improv. Like I did that one with the weird travel agent. That was 100% made up on the spot. I was exhausted by the time I finished it. Is your job associated with psychology? No. Although I do wonder sometimes if I'm sick in the head for staying there. No, it's not. I used my English degree to get my job. I started out as the proofreader for the firm, and you had to have a 4-year degree in English to get that job. And I was the proofreader for 7 years. And then I went I got my certification and became a paralegal after that. What is an appropriate time of day to start mowing your lawn? this question is involved. Hold on, let me back up. What is an appropriate time of day to start mowing your lawn on the weekend when you live in a neighborhood? I'm going to tell you now, dude over here started mowing at 6:30 Saturday morning, and I was mad. That is not an appropriate time to start mowing. On the weekend, I would say anytime after 9. But the problem is, it has been so hot here. It has been so hot and so dry. I understood him wanting to get out early and get started because it has just been so incredibly hot and humid. It's been up in the 90s almost every day for the last 2 or 3 weeks. So, I mean, if you start early, people are probably going to understand, but they're probably not going to like you if you wake them up, because a lot of people around here work all week and they want to sleep late on Saturday morning. I try to wait until at least 9. And sometimes I just do it on over in the evening, because a lot here lately, even at 9 o'clock in the morning, it's already hot out there. It's been hot all night and it's still hot. So I might wait until about 7:30 in the evening to do it. Is YouTube your full-time job or just a hobby? Just a hobby. I have a full-time job already, and it's not YouTube. Any advice for college students? I would say this is advice for all young people. Be self-sufficient. Learn to be independent. Don't expect other people to take care of you, and that will apply to males or females. Learn to take care of yourself. A lot of young people don't know how to do that, and it's going to bite you in the ass later. I know right now you may have your parents to catch you and help you out, but you need to learn to take care of yourself. I knew where I used to work, there was a woman in a cubicle next to me whose son was 20-something and still in college, and she would call him every morning to make sure he got up in time for his class. She would call and make doctor's appointments for him. She would call and remind him of this and that. She did his laundry. She would go clean up his apartment, treating him like a child. And I'm going, I didn't want to get involved, but I'm thinking, this kid needs to grow up and start doing some stuff for himself. He can buy an alarm clock anywhere for $5 and wake himself up. He can write notes or put something on his phone to remind him of appointments. Be a big boy, take care of yourself. So many young people don't. So you may not have ever taken care of yourself, but it's never too late to start trying to be self-sufficient. Don't expect somebody else to hold your hand and guide you through life. That's my advice for college students. Go to class, study hard. Don't spend all your time puking off balconies. Be responsible for yourself. Take responsibility for your actions. And if you screw up, don't blame it on somebody else. And if you can do those things and have respect for people, especially your elders, listen to your elders, because you can learn a lot from them. I know you think we're all old, slow, and stupid, but you can learn a lot from us. We didn't get old by being stupid, so listen to what we have to say. Oh, and you will have a day, you're not there yet, but eventually you will have an epiphany. You will have at least one epiphany where you're going to go, holy crap, my parents were right. They were right. I thought they were idiots. They are not. They were right. You're going to have at least one moment like that. And when you have that moment, you need to go tell your parents you're sorry for being such an ass and thinking you knew everything. What is your favorite childhood memory? Oh my gosh, it has to be when I was 8. The year I was 8 years old, I wanted a Barbie townhouse. I went through a brief Barbie period there, and I wanted the Barbie townhouse for Christmas. My parents couldn't afford it. It was way too expensive. I still remember it was $119 in the Sears catalog. Or was that the Dream House? I wanted the townhouse because it was cheaper than the Dream House. One of them was $119. That might have been the Dream House. Anyway, I knew they couldn't afford it. I knew they couldn't, but I really wanted it. And they knew I really wanted it. And my dad made one for me for Christmas. He made it himself. And there's no telling how much time he spent. It was wonderful. It had 3 stories. It had an elevator. It was made all out of wood, and it had an attached stable even for my Barbie horses, because I had 2 or 3 Barbie horses. And it even had linoleum on the floors and everything. And it was all painted pink. There is no telling how much time he spent on that thing. I can't even talk about it without getting choked up because it was the best Christmas present I ever got. And I never forgot that. And then my mom ended up giving it to my bratty cousin when I was older, and she tore it up because Anyway. Did you have any pets as a kid? Oh my God, we had so many pets. We had tons of pets. The main reason we had a lot of pets was because we lived in the middle of nowhere. We lived on a dirt road. We were the only house on this road, and this road was like 2 miles long. No other houses on this road anywhere. We're surrounded by trees everywhere, just forest. And people would drive out to where we were and dump out puppies, kittens, dogs, cats. Usually they do it overnight. We wake up the next morning and there were strange animals in the yard that had just appeared, like a box of, well, there'd be an empty box with like a towel in it, and then puppies running around in the yard, or kittens, or God knows what, grown dogs. Dogs, one time a dog with a broken leg. I mean, they just dumped them at our house. And it was heartbreaking. I mean, these people, I remember one time somebody dumped off a huge litter of puppies that were just consumed with mange. And we had 2 or 3 dogs, and our dogs all got mange. And then we had to call the pound for the puppies, and we had to treat our dogs for mange. And it was just a nightmare. And sometimes they would do it on a weekend. And I grew up in a really small county, and there was only one dog catcher, and he didn't work on weekends. So if they dumped them off on a weekend, we'd have to keep them all weekend, and then they'd come the following week to get them. And my brother and I would get attached to the whatever was dumped out. We would get attached to them more often than not. We'd spend all weekend playing with the puppies or the kittens or whatever, the dogs and cats. And we would get attached even though we knew they were going to have to be taken away. And we would just cry, especially me. I would just cry because at that time, it's better now. It's better now. They have really changed the pound in that county. But back then, they only had a few cages, and they were out in the elements. They were not indoors. They had a roof over them, but no heat, no air. And they could only keep animals for maybe a day, maybe 2 days. And then they would put them down because they just didn't have enough space. And we knew 99% chance that every animal that we had to call the pound about was going to be put down. And it wouldn't be saved. And we couldn't keep them all. I mean, there were too many. And like I said, I grew up poor. We didn't have any money. We couldn't afford to keep all these animals. But most of the pets I had growing up were some that people had dumped out. And we made sure to spay them and neuter them so there wouldn't be more, but other people didn't bother to do that, so they end up with all these puppies and kittens, and I guess they're cowards and jerks, and they just left us to deal with them. They would just literally dump it on us. So yes, I had a lot of pets as a kid. I had a lot of great pets as a kid. How did you decide on a college major? Well, at first I wanted to go into clinical psychology. I thought that would be a great field for me. But long story short, I ultimately decided that sitting there listening to people's problems all day wasn't what I wanted to do. I was going to go to graduate school, and then I changed my mind. I do kind of regret not pursuing research psychology because I was a research assistant for 2 of the psychology professors who did animal behavior research. And I got my name published in a couple of their article published studies, which was really cool. Got a high five myself on that one for helping out. I was listed in the little, like the credits, basically. Special thanks to blah blah blah. Yeah, I kind of regret not pursuing that because I really enjoyed the clinical aspect of psychology, the research, not clinical, but research. Animal behavior research was really interesting. I enjoyed that a lot. Yeah, that's how I got in. I got into psychology that way, and I got the English major by mistake. I wasn't even trying to get a major in that. I just enjoyed the English lit classes so much and the other English classes so much that I used all my electives on English classes. And I almost had a double major in 4 years. I was 3 credit hours shy of a double major in 4 years, which is why it's funny to me to hear kids talk. And you can get mad at me if you want to. It's fine. Talk about, oh, you can't get a degree in 4 years. Almost got two in 4 years, and I worked and was a research assistant at the same time. You can get a degree in 4 years. You got to work. You got to, bust your butt a little bit, but you can get 1 degree in 4 years. You absolutely can. My mom beat me. She got a degree in 4 years while working full time and raising a family, and graduated summa cum laude. I mean, she beat me. She did better than I did. Okay, now there's just one more question. This is going to be real brief. These were all from the same person. Do you know BTS? Do you know EXO? Do you know Twice? No, no, no. The end. So that was a lot of talking. I can see from here it was over an hour. So those were all the questions that I wanted to answer. There were some other really personal questions I'm just not going to answer. People get really personal with their stuff. I just disregard it. So anyway, I hope that clears up some stuff. If you had any other questions about me, maybe I answered it in there. Anyway, I know this isn't normal, and there will be at least one person. This isn't ASMR. I don't know what you're doing here. This is really not ASMR, so stop. Well, I'm going to stop now because I'm done. So, anyway, thank you for listening, and we'll get back to regular stuff tomorrow.